Hello, welcome to our Scientific Stories for Deep Sleep channel. In this video, you'll hear what would happen if the sun suddenly went out while you were trying to sleep, and you'll drift off to sleep comfortably. Enjoy the show, and don't forget to subscribe. So imagine this. You're going about your day, maybe scrolling through your phone, grabbing some coffee, doing whatever it is you do, and then boom, the sun just switches off. Like someone flipped a cosmic light switch. What actually happens? And I mean really happens, not the Hollywood version where everything freezes instantly and people are running around screaming. Let's break this down, because it's way more fascinating than you might think. First things first, we wouldn't even know it happened right away. And that's wild when you think about it. The sun is about 93 million miles away from us, which means light from the sun takes roughly 8 minutes and 20 seconds to reach Earth. So if the sun just vanished or went dark at this very moment, we'd still see it shining in the sky for another 8 minutes. We'd be living in borrowed time, basking in light that's coming from a dead star, and we wouldn't have a clue. Birds would still be chirping. People would still be complaining about the weather. Everything completely normal. For 8 whole minutes, life goes on as usual. But then those 8 minutes pass. And suddenly, without any warning, the sky goes dark. Not like nighttime dark, but properly dark. No moon either. Because remember, the moon doesn't produce its own light. It reflects sunlight. So when the sun goes out, the moon goes dark too. We'd be left with just starlight. And let me tell you, starlight alone is nowhere near enough to see by. We're talking about darkness that most people have never experienced. Even the darkest night you've ever seen probably had some light pollution, maybe a bit of moonlight. This would be different. This would be absolute. The panic would be immediate and global. Think about it. Every person on the daylight side of Earth would see the sun just vanish from the sky. On the night side, people would be waiting for a sunrise that never comes. Social media would explode. If it was still working, governments would be scrambling. Scientists would be frantically trying to figure out what's happening. And the terrifying thing is, there'd be no precedent for this. No emergency protocol. No plan. Because it's not supposed to be possible. Now here's where it gets interesting. The temperature doesn't plummet immediately either. A lot of people think we'd freeze solid within minutes. But that's not how thermodynamics works. Earth is actually pretty good at holding on to heat. The atmosphere, the oceans, the ground itself, they all act like a massive thermal battery. So for the first day or so, you might not even notice much of a temperature drop. Sure, it gets colder, but we're talking about the kind of cold you get on a winter night, not instant frozen wasteland. Think about it this way. Even during a normal night, Earth doesn't lose all its heat. The atmosphere traps warmth through the greenhouse effect. We've got water vapor, carbon dioxide, methane, all these gases that hold on to infrared radiation. That doesn't just disappear because the sun went out. For the first 24 hours, we'd probably drop maybe 20 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit on average. Uncomfortable, yes. Deadly, not yet. But give it a week, and things start getting serious. The average global temperature would drop below freezing. Now we're talking about real problems. Plants would start dying pretty much immediately once the cold really sets in. No photosynthesis means no food production. But honestly, the cold would kill them before the lack of light becomes the main issue. Crops would wither. Forests would die. The entire base of our food chain would collapse within days. The surface of the oceans would start to freeze. Now, this is actually somewhat helpful for us in the short term because ice is an excellent insulator. The frozen surface layer would actually trap heat beneath it, keeping the deeper oceans liquid for potentially thousands or even millions of years. The ice would start at the poles, obviously, since they're already cold, and then work its way toward the equator. Within a couple of weeks, you have ice forming even in tropical regions. Marine life would face an interesting situation. Surface dwellers, the fish and mammals and plankton that live in the upper layers of the ocean, they die off quickly. Too cold. And the plankton can't photosynthesize anyway. But deeper down, things would persist for much longer. The deep ocean is already cold and dark. A lot of the creatures down there wouldn't even notice the sun was gone, at least not immediately. Their food chains would eventually collapse as organic matter stops raining down from the surface. But that takes time. Within a few months, we're looking at average temperatures around minus 100 degrees Fahrenheit or colder on the surface. This is where things get really alien. The atmosphere itself would start to freeze. First, water vapor would snow out, which I guess is normal enough. You'd have massive snowstorms as all the moisture in the air crystallizes and falls. But then carbon dioxide would start freezing and falling as dry ice snow. Picture that. Snow that's so cold it would burn your skin on contact. Snow that sublimate back into gas if it warms up even slightly. Eventually, even nitrogen and oxygen would start to liquefy and fall from the sky. The air itself would rain down on us. How insane is that? You have pools of liquid oxygen and nitrogen on the ground. If you had a heat source, you could watch the air around you literally condensing into puddles. Earth would essentially lose its atmosphere. Not completely, not all at once, but it would dramatically thin out as the gases freeze and accumulate on the surface. The atmospheric pressure would drop. Breathing would become difficult even before the cold killed you. But okay, let's talk about survival because you know someone's thinking it. Could humans actually survive this? And the answer is, surprisingly, kind of yes, at least for a while. We wouldn't all die immediately. Humans are clever, and we've got technology. The key would be getting underground quickly and bringing energy sources with us. Nuclear power would become absolutely critical. A nuclear power plant doesn't need sunlight to operate. You could theoretically create underground bunkers powered by nuclear reactors, grow food using artificial light, recycle air and water, basically create self-contained ecosystems. And we actually know how to do this already. Nuclear submarines stay underwater for months at a time. They produce their own oxygen through electrolysis, splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen. They recycle their air, scrubbing out carbon dioxide. They grow some fresh food through hydroponics. It's a closed system. Now scale that up. Build it underground where you're insulated from the cold. Add massive greenhouses lit by artificial lights powered by nuclear reactors. It's technically feasible. Geothermal energy would also be crucial. The Earth's core is still hot, completely independent of the sun. It's heated by radioactive decay and leftover heat from Earth's formation. That's not going anywhere for billions of years. The core is around 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That heat slowly works its way to the surface through convection and conduction. So you could tap into geothermal vents, build habitat around them, use that heat for warmth and power. Iceland and other geothermally active regions would suddenly become prime real estate. Imagine that the world's most valuable property is now wherever you can stick a pipe into ground and get heat. Places like Yellowstone, Iceland, New Zealand, Indonesia, anywhere with volcanic activity would become refuges. You could drill down, tap into hot rock or hot water, and create a livable environment. The technology exists right now. We use geothermal energy in various places around the world. It's just a matter of scaling it up and doing it fast enough. The ocean floor would actually be one of the safest places. Weirdly enough, those deep-sea hydrothermal vents, the black smokers, they support entire ecosystems that don't rely on sunlight at all. They run on chemosynthesis instead of photosynthesis. Bacteria convert chemicals from the vents, things like hydrogen sulfide, into energy, and then everything else eats the bacteria or eats the things that eat the bacteria. These communities would keep on thriving like nothing happened. Tube worms, giant clams, weird eyeless shrimp, they'd all just keep doing their thing. Life on Earth wouldn't completely end. It would just retreat to these isolated pockets. And actually, this is similar to theories about how life might exist on other worlds. Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, is covered in ice, but underneath is a liquid ocean kept warm by tidal heating. If there's life there, it's probably clustered around hydrothermal vents, just like on Earth. So, in a way, if the sun went out, Earth would become like Europa, a frozen ball with a liquid ocean beneath, harboring life in the deep darkness. Now, let's talk about what happens to Earth itself as a planet. Without the sun's gravitational pull, Earth would immediately fly off in a straight line, tangent to its current orbit. We'd just shoot off into interstellar space at about 67,000 miles per hour. We'd become a rogue planet, wandering through the galaxy alone. And honestly, that's kind of beautiful in a tragic way. Just Earth, cruising through the cosmos, a dark frozen ball carrying the remnants of a civilization that once looked up at a star and wondered. The moon would come with us. By the way, the moon is gravitationally bound to Earth, not to the sun, so it would stay in orbit around us. You'd still technically have months. Even if you couldn't see the moon anymore, the moon would still be there, invisible in the darkness, silently orbiting. Tides would continue, powered by the moon's gravity. Though with the oceans frozen, they'd be pretty academic at that point. The frozen surface would bulge slightly as the moon passed overhead, but there wouldn't be any dramatic water movements anymore. Other planets would fly off on their own trajectories too. Mercury, Venus, Mars, all of them just yeeting themselves into deep space in different directions. The solar system would just disintegrate. Jupiter might capture a few moons from other planets on its way out, being the massive gravitational bully that it is. Saturn would take its beautiful rings with it. Neptune and Uranus would drift off into the void. Essentially, the sun's family would just scatter to the cosmic winds, each planet becoming a lonely wanderer. Here's something people don't think about: satellites and the International Space Station. If this happened today, there are people in space right now. Astronauts on the ISS would have a front row seat to the apocalypse, but they'd also be in serious trouble very quickly. The ISS relies on solar panels for power. No sun means no power means no life support within hours. They have to evacuate immediately, hoping they can get back to Earth before their backup systems fail. And return to Earth in this scenario is just trading one death sentence for a slightly slower one. The astronauts would see it happen in real time. They orbit Earth every 90 minutes, so they see sunrise and sunset 16 times a day. Imagine being up there and suddenly, mid-sunrise, the sun just disappears. One moment you're watching the limb of the Earth glow with that beautiful gradient of colors as the sun comes up, and the next moment it's just gone. Pure darkness. The stars would still be there, brighter than ever without the sun's glare. But that would be cold comfort. What about GPS communications? All our satellites. Most satellites are solar-powered. They die within days as their batteries depleted. Some military and critical satellites have nuclear power sources, RTGs or radioisotope thermoelectric generators, and those would keep working, but the vast majority would fail. Our entire modern infrastructure would collapse almost immediately. No internet, no phones, no GPS. In the middle of an apocalyptic scenario where coordination and communication would be critical, we'd be thrown back to the technological equivalent of the Stone Age, at least in terms of long-distance communication. Think about what that means practically. You can't coordinate rescue efforts. You can't tell people where to go. You can't share information about which facilities are still operational. Radio would still work, assuming you have power for the transmitters, but the infrastructure for broadcasting is largely solar-powered or dependent on the electrical grid, which would collapse without power generation. The electrical grid would fail within hours in most places. Power plants, even the ones that don't need sunlight directly, need fuel deliveries, maintenance, coordination. Coal plants need coal. Natural gas plants need gas. When the supply chains break down and workers can't get to their jobs because they're panicking or freezing, the grid collapses. Only facilities with stored fuel and dedicated staff who understand the gravity of the situation would keep running. But let's go even deeper into the science. What would actually cause the sun to go out? Because stars don't just switch off. The sun is a massive fusion reactor. Deep in its core, hydrogen atoms are being crushed together by gravity to form helium, releasing tremendous energy in the process. The pressure at the core is about 265 billion times Earth's atmospheric pressure. The temperature is around 27 million degrees Fahrenheit. Under those conditions, fusion is inevitable. For the sun to just stop, you need to somehow stop fusion, and that basically can't happen. Even if you could magically remove all the hydrogen, the core is so hot and dense that it would take millions of years to cool down enough to stop radiating energy. The sun has enough thermal inertia that it would keep shining for ages even if fusion stopped. The only realistic scenario where the sun disappears is if some advanced alien civilization literally deleted it, just scooped it up and moved it somewhere else for reasons we can't comprehend. Maybe they're harvesting stars for fuel. Maybe they're Dyson sphere builders who disassemble stars for raw materials. Or maybe it gets sucked into a spontaneously appearing black hole, though that's not really how black holes work either. You can't just create a black hole out of nothing. Point is, this scenario is pretty much impossible according to known physics, which is probably good news for us. But let's say it happened anyway, because it's fun to think about. After a year or so, Earth would be completely frozen. Average surface temperature would be around minus 400 degrees Fahrenheit. That's colder than Pluto. That's colder than most places in the outer solar system. Any surviving humans would be deep underground or in specially constructed bunkers. You'd need multiple redundant life support systems, massive stockpiles of resources, and sustainable food production using artificial light and hydroponics. The food situation is interesting. You can't just stockpile food for thousands of people indefinitely. You need sustainable production. That means hydroponics or aeroponics, growing plants without soil using nutrient solutions. You grow fast-growing crops like lettuce, spinach, tomatoes, potatoes. You need a lot of variety to keep people healthy. And you need artificial lights that mimic sunlight spectrum, probably LEDs for efficiency. Growing food underground using artificial light is energy intensive, which is why you need those nuclear reactors or geothermal plants running constantly. Protein would be a challenge. You could raise fish in aquaculture systems, grow insects for protein, or use cellular agriculture to grow meat from cells. All of these technologies exist today. They just need to be implemented on a massive scale under emergency conditions. It's essentially the same technology we need for colonizing Mars or living on a generation ship, just applied to staying alive on our own planet. In a weird way, the sun going out would force us to develop the exact technologies we need for deep space colonization. The survivors would become the most advanced spacefaring capable humans by necessity, even though they'd never leave the planet. The psychological impact would be devastating too. Imagine never seeing the sun again, never feeling natural warmth on your skin, never seeing a blue sky, a sunset, natural colors and sunlight. Humans evolved under the sun. Our circadian rhythms, our vitamin D production, our mental health, it's all tied to sunlight. Living in eternal darkness would mess with people in ways we can barely imagine. Seasonal affective disorder would affect basically everyone. You need artificial light cycles that mimic day and night to keep people's circadian rhythms functioning. Bright light therapy would be mandatory. Vitamin D supplements would be essential since we'd have no way to produce it naturally. And even with all that, the psychological toll of living underground in artificial environments would be immense. You'd need to create spaces that feel open and natural even though they're enclosed. Maybe virtual reality would become crucial, letting people experience simulated sunlight and nature. Maybe you'd paint murals of blue skies and green fields. Anything to maintain some connection to what we lost. The psychological support systems would need to be as robust as the physical life support. Children born after the sun went out would grow up never knowing natural sunlight. To them, the sun would be a myth, something their parents talk about. They'd see videos and pictures, but it wouldn't be real to them. They'd be the first generation of underground humanity, adapted to a life that would seem horrifying to us but normal to them. How long could we actually survive? That depends entirely on how much preparation we had and how many resources we could secure. With zero warning, like the scenario we've been discussing, maybe a few thousand people survive in the long term, clustered around nuclear power plants and geothermal sites. With warning and preparation, maybe millions if we really mobilized. But we're talking about reducing humanity from 8 billion people to a tiny remnant living in caves, powered by nuclear reactors, growing food under LED lights. The selection of who survives would be brutal and probably unfair. People near appropriate facilities would have an advantage. People with useful skills, engineers, farmers, doctors, would be prioritized. Most people would simply freeze or starve within months. It's a depressing thought, but that's the reality of such a catastrophic scenario. Over generations, the survivors would adapt. They develop new cultures centered around the artificial habitats. Different bunkers or geothermal settlements might lose contact with each other, developing independently. You could end up with isolated pockets of humanity scattered around the globe, each evolving their own societies, maybe not even aware that others still exist. The good news, if you can call it that, is Earth itself will be fine. In a sense, the planet would endure. Millions of years from now, if the sun somehow came back, or if Earth wandered close enough to another star in its journey through the galaxy, things could theoretically warm up again. Any surviving microorganisms in the deep oceans or underground would potentially repopulate the surface. Life would find a way, as it always seems to do. It just wouldn't be human life, or at least not human life as we know it. Actually, there's a non-zero chance that Earth could be captured by another star. Rogue planets wandering through the galaxy sometimes get captured by passing stars. The odds are incredibly low, but over millions of years, it's possible. If Earth wandered for long enough and got lucky, we might end up orbiting a new sun. And if any life survived in the deep oceans or underground, it could potentially recolonize the surface once things warmed up. Evolution would start again from whatever survived. So yeah, if the sun suddenly went out, we have 8 minutes of normalcy, then immediate darkness, gradual but inevitable freezing, the collapse of all surface ecosystems, and the survival of only a tiny fraction of humanity in underground bunkers, assuming we could even manage that. It's one of those scenarios that really makes you appreciate that big glowing ball in the sky. And thankfully, it will keep doing its thing for another 5 billion years or so. The sun is about halfway through its main sequence lifespan. Eventually, it'll run out of hydrogen, swell up into a red giant, probably engulf Earth, and then collapse into a white dwarf. But that's billions of years away. We've got time. But it's wild to think about what would happen if it didn't. If something impossible happened, and that light just switched off, we'd be plunged into darkness on a frozen rock hurtling through interstellar space, kept alive only by our technology and our determination to survive against all odds. It really puts things in perspective, doesn't it?